Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome back. Good to see you. Today, we are going to learn how to make chow mein. This is week 3 of our Chinese cooking classes, if you will. So at the end of today, you can make an entire Chinese feast for your family. We are going to make it with pork. You are getting plant-based chicken, which is delicious and wonderful, and glad to be able to use that. But I happen to have some pork tenderloin that I need to use up. So just goes to show you, you can use pork, you can use chicken, you can use plant-based, whatever you got, or no meat at all if you like. Got our ingredients all laid out. Steam fried noodles, sesame oil, vegetable stock, salt, oil, pepper, bean sprouts, celery, onions, and the meat. So first thing we're gonna do, slice the meat up into bite-sized pieces. And if you remember last week, we talked about freezing your meat a little bit so that you can slice it into nice thin slices. That makes it ever so much easier. And show you how to do that into thin little pieces. So makes it easy to saute. And helps if you have a good knife too. So I'm going to slice that up, and then I'm going to put it into a separate bowl. I'm going to slice this. This is, I don't know what this is. It's some sort of skin that sometimes gets taken off. So we'll get that out of the way. Keep slicing up our pork like that. So now it's getting wide. I'm going to slice it in half because we want to keep it bite-sized. So now, of course, these pieces are silly small compared to the other ones. So if you're going to do that, pay attention to your sizes so that, again, they're consistent, and don't do what I do, which is cut it in half too late. So there. You see how easy that is to slice nice and thin? Because it's partially frozen. Makes it super easy. Okay, almost done. There. So we're going to put that. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to start it over here in the frying pan. Actually, I'm using a saucepan today. If you have a nice big frying pan, then this is an easy dish to do. If you don't, a good saucepan like that will work. Because once you put the noodles in, you need a lot of room. But when they cook down, it's good. So we're gonna go over here. And we're going to remember always heat the pan before we heat the oil, then it doesn't stick. While we're waiting for that to heat up, I'm going to walk back and forth a little bit. Bring this over here, and then I'll move back over here to finish chopping everything, because this is the kind of thing you can do. It doesn't take very long at all. So we're going to put the oil in, good amount of oil so it doesn't stick. Remember, hot pan, cold oil, and you can see it's all shimmery. That tells you that the temperature is good. We're going to throw in our meat. I'm going to give the cutting board a bit of a clean. So that goes in there. We're going to season it with some salt. Not quite as organized as I should be today, guys. That's going in there. Let that sizzle. And actually, I am going to bring the rest of the ingredients over here, just so that it's easier. So, while the meat is cooking, we're going to chop our celery. This celery came from the farmer's market. I'm very excited. It's beautiful, fresh celery. We're going to chop it on a diagonal. You can see, on an angle like that. Just give it a good chop. Keep going right up there. Now, these are edible. They're also really good. You can throw them in the freezer for making your vegetable stock. We've talked about that. Here's our I'm just going to stick everything in this because I didn't get a bowl out. So we're going to put it in here just to keep it separate. More celery. We're going to keep chopping. Remember, fingers back, away from the knife. I am going to save all that lovely celery greens for myself. They make the celery leaves. They kind of taste, well, they taste like celery. So you can chop them up if you want to flavor something. As I said, you can also put them in your soup stock, throw them in a bag in the freezer. There. So there's, now these are really big pieces of celery. Your recipe says 5 stalks. These are really big, so I'm only using 3. We're browning up our meat. See, it won't take long. Cook it nice and fast over hot heat. Next thing we're going to do is the onions. So, remember, stem end, leave that on. Cut it in half. Peel the onion. I think the next time I do this, I'm not going to work in the corner. I think you're not getting a good view, if I'm correct. What do you think, Tasha? Not a good place to do it? Talk to my cameraman here. My camera person, I should say. Okay, so we've got the stem of the onion is intact still. And this we're going to slice. Remember, we talk about just slicing it like that. You want it nice, fairly thin slices, but not too thin. And then we're going to cut it off there. And there's your onion, all nicely sliced. We're going to put it in with the celery. You might have to cut through it a little bit more if you didn't cut through far enough. So we're going to cut this one through. Oopsie. And then you get to the point where you just hold it because it's falling apart. Okay, cut that off there. Again, more onion into the thing. Now we've got, our meat looks pretty good. Just about. So almost there. I'm going to crank this up a little bit. You want to do it over medium-high heat. You want it cooked fast, just like all stir fries. So that should be good. It's just going to give us some nice liquid to go in there too that'll help season everything. So now you dump in the celery and the onions and you stir that around. If you want to add a little bit of garlic to it, you can. It's not really traditional, but it's certainly a nice addition. So we let that cook for a couple of minutes, stirring it around to keep it moving. Remember, high heat, medium-high heat. Keep it moving. Give it a couple of extra minutes. It tends to cook faster if you've got it in a frying pan. I don't really have a big enough frying pan. I do it in a frying pan, but it can be a bit of a mess. So I wanted to show you how to make it in a saucepan. Not exactly a traditional wok, but you know, sometimes you gotta work with what you got. So there, that's cooking away. Should be. You want the vegetables to stay nice and crisp crunchy, good chow mein. Nobody wants soggy chow mein. I don't know about you, but I certainly don't want soggy, gummy chow mein. That would be nasty. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna put the lid on that just for probably a minute or so. That'll give it a chance to steam, cook it a little faster. And then, yeah, just kind of wait and hang out and visit with me for a minute. Tell me what you're doing after you made dinner. Are you going out tonight? Are you hanging out with your friends? Are you playing some video games? What's going on? Okay, that should be good. Can you tell I'm a little impatient? So, there you go. Yeah, you can see the onions are starting to get translucent. We've talked about that before. Opaque versus translucent, which means they're starting to cook and be yummy. So now we're gonna add the noodles. These are steam fried noodles, as opposed to chow mein noodles. So they're thin and they are crunchy. I've always used these. This is one of those recipes that I grew up with. My mom always used to make this when I was a kid. So the noodles, this is why I say you need a big pan. You put the whole bag of noodles in, and you can see how much room that takes, because right now, you can see that they're crisp, eh? Watch. You can hear them snap. They're crunchy. These are actually fun to eat just like this. But what we're gonna do is mix it up carefully so we don't get a hot mess all over the side of the stove. Although, I don't know about you, but my dogs are quite happy if I do spill stuff. So that goes in there. Then we add the stock. In this case, it's vegetable stock or chicken stock. I think we put chicken stock in your packages. So that goes in there. That's really all the liquid you need, because all you're doing is heating this through. See, hot mess, I told you. That's why you do it in a nice big wok. So we're gonna let that sit for a minute or two. So what this does is it softens up the noodles, because they're already cooked, so you don't need to do that. But you can see it's already starting to compact, because the noodles are getting softer. So that goes like that. Then you put the lid on, let it steam for a minute or two. Tidy up while you're at it. You can start putting your stuff away if you want. I will do that, because we need to do something while we're waiting for this. So you let that sit till the noodles are nice and soft. Then you add your bean sprouts. This is another, again, you're not really cooking them. You want them to stay crisp and crunchy, but you want them hot, of course. So I think now we can throw those in. Let's give this a stir. Oh yeah, this is coming along great. Look at this. Okay. Looks good. In go the bean sprouts. Try not. Mix those up. And this is where you do your final seasoning too. Now, sometimes your stock, we've talked about this, will have salt in it. Sometimes it won't. So if it's a salty stock, then you want to not necessarily add any salt. If it's a no salt added stock, then you will definitely need to add stock. So I happen to use a no salt added, and like I said, my old lady taste buds, we need salt in everything. So we're gonna put some salt in there a little bit. Not a lot, just enough to make the flavors pop. And some pepper, salt and pepper, and a good drizzle of sesame oil, which I know you have. So a couple teaspoons of sesame oil, give it that wonderful Asian flavor. Pour that in there like that. Mix it all up again. And basically, you're done. Taste it, of course. Always taste it. Adjust the seasoning. If the noodles aren't quite soft enough for you, what I would recommend you do at this point, because now that the liquid's pretty much all absorbed, the last thing you want is this to start sticking to the bottom of the pan. So what you're gonna do is give it a little taste. See how the flavors are for you. Flavors bang on. It does need to sit for a couple more minutes. The noodles are a little bit crunchy in the middle. We don't want that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the heat off. Put the lid on. That will steam it. Keep the heat in. Soften your noodles. And then when they are to your liking, you can serve away. So let me know what you think of that recipe. And I'd be very excited if you did all three together and gave your family a Chinese feast. So take good care. We'll see you next week. And let me know how you made out. Bye.